all of y'all are scattered throughout the United States, right? So sometimes your time won't match up with my request. You get what I'm saying? So I understand that. But if you can get in like early afternoon, that way you're back in time to get a result, I can put it in. But if not, doesn't work out that way, doesn't work out that way. You know? But Martin, if that time works for you and there's nothing else, that's cool. All right. So just want to let you know. Kevin, I sent that email on the 24th. I'm gonna save you some time. I'm gonna put your voucher in the chat. How about that? Okay, already have it copied and pasted. Such a technician. Such a technician. I mean, if you can ace the test in Japanese, go for it. If you know how to read it, I don't. It'd be an automatic fail for me. It'd come up, I'd be like, whoa, might as well put a 0 in there because ain't nothing happening today.
Yeah.
Probably.
Welcome to Trend Torch Network, where innovation...
Yes, sir.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the pre-show of today's SY0701.
Okay, I'll put that on your, the date and the time on your ticket. Thank you.
This is our first Security Plus study group of the new year. So glad to have you with us. If you are here live, settle in. We got about 9 minutes, just under, to go. We'll start at the top of the hour. If you're here on a replay, it's still 9 minutes, although you could fast forward if you really wanted to. But why would you do that when you can hang out with us? If you'd like to join us, do I have the right graphics loaded? I do. How about that one? There we go. Now we can go in and click the button to show. Let's see if I can show. How about I put me on the screen? That's in the way. How about right? Oh, what is going on?
How you guys doing? Morning.
With this. Now I got things I gotta fix. Just as I go live, I see things that don't look quite right.
Process of earning the IT certification, specifically in cybersecurity, A+, Net+, Security+, and CYSA.
Ugly border. Can I turn it off? I can. But none of the matting is right. None of my clips are right. That's fantastic. Oh, the things we go through to try to get these up and running sometimes. Oh, there's always something. But that's half the fun of it, isn't it? We can kind of see what in the world's going on. Maybe I can fix it since this is the pre-show. Let's see. We're going to get rid of the border for a bit because that's just a mess. And the positioning size looks. Look at that. Look at now I'm really messed up. Now I'm super. Now I've got mess. Look at my head. Look at that. Now we got weirdness going on. Oh boy. I don't want a Luma on that. I don't. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna change something here real quick. You might see things go a little bit wacky in you on the screen, but that's okay. I'm busy changing things on my side, and we're gonna click it so that everything looks a lot better again. Let's restore this. Here we go. Oh, that looks. See, it's a different graphic. That's okay. That's by design.
I got your text too, Elaine. Thank you.
Well, yeah.
So it takes a little bit of extra. You know what you do? You turn it all off and back on.
All right, Martin, I will adjust that for you.
But I changed things around. That's why we have a pre-show after all, so I can try these things out. Make sure everything's working the way I would expect it to work. Now, is this still showing recording? It is, so we're good there. Hey, chat room, hope everybody's doing good. Finally can see everyone. And everybody checking in. Hey, Mal, good to see you. How are things down in St. Vincent? Hope things are well. We're in the Grenadines. Hopefully warmer than it is here in the U.S. It's a little cold. It's the polar vortex. That's what's coming through. So let's see if I also, now that I've updated that, did that change? I'm gonna look at one other thing.
How you doing? I'm gonna give that a like and a heart with the super chat. Hunter Garrett. Morning. How you doing?
So that's why the recording is still working. That's why this is working. This is actually what I wanted from the
Thank you very much for the super chat.
This all works out. We got about just over 5 minutes to go. We'll get started with the live stream. Thanks everyone for joining us. If you would like to participate,
Miss Ken,
right here, you can see this.
Can you make me a moderator? Sure, I can make you a moderator. I just
This is what I have here. If you go to Professor,
I just need just a little bit. I may need to check out your page just so I can give you all that kind of permission.
Checking in from all over. Thanks for
But yes, I can make you a moderator.
Thanks for watching on the replay. It's quite nice of you as well.
If you'd like to
Chat room.
message or email, I can also go and check out your page as well.
Let's see. Whenever I start the live stream, because it looks to you like I'm in this very dark room, and I am. I close up.
So those who I give the moderator responsibility to, it's also for you to not overuse it, but to use it in the right way. But yes, of course, I will look into it.
Super dark. Unless you see me in this view, it looks like wow, it's super bright in here. Look at all the light. Wow, this is really cool.
Oh, the mustache.
That's because the lights are right. You can't see the lights. They're right.
I haven't lined up the mustache here, but
they're just very directional. They don't bounce around a lot in here. Plus, I have them turned way down, and I have my.
Normally I let it grow and then I line it up, but I'll let it grow just a little bit more.
Jacksonville didn't get snow, just a lot of icy rain, huh? I have family over in the Tallahassee area. They sent me pictures of snow this morning, which was crazy. Although growing up, we did get snow from time to time. It's just not been there lately. So not completely unusual, but hopefully that gives you a perspective of something. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what can happen here in Florida. For those of you that don't know, we are based in Central Florida, so we didn't get snow here, thankfully, but it's it's freezing. What is it, 50? We don't know what to do. What is the temperature here? Let's have a look real quick. So for those of you that work in Freedom units, it's 44 Fahrenheit. That's exactly what we would work through. Hopefully that gives you something there. It's not 50, it's 44. See, it's so much more freezing. We don't know. Our blood's so thin here. We have no perspective of cold. That's how I know I would never.
Ken, I'm gonna take a look at your page so I can see if I can add you to the moderator.
So let's see what we got today. I have a lot to work through to get all of this done. Although I have family in Canada, so they are definitely a little more chilly up there. I got family in Montana. They are checking in, kind of cold, kind of chilly. There is coolness going on. So much that I put on a sweater. That doesn't happen very much. I had to wear socks. We're spoiled here in Florida. We're just not used to it. But that's okay. It's kind of nice every once in a while to have a little bit of change of pace. And what's good is having all these cold clothes if you don't get to wear them. So that's another benefit, I think. That's super nice. Oh, Ontario, yeah, -8 Fahrenheit. We don't have to talk. Whenever I talk to my family in Canada, they don't use the Fahrenheit. They use the Celsius, which is fine. I'm fine with that. Although, what is the temperature they sort of connect each other? Is it -40 somewhere there? They're sort of the same. There's of course a line that gets crossed. I'm not in any way, shape, or form associated at all with the details of meteorology. I know nothing. Is it -20? Okay, that's where it intersects. That's where it's all the same. That's what we need to work. For the folks wondering, yeah, we're not really doing the live stream quite yet. This is the pre-show. Your people are wondering, what is this we're seeing here? You will see me here in just a moment. We're getting there. We have less than a minute, 45 seconds to go. I should probably make sure that all my stuff is up and running here. Cameras look good. Cameras are good. We're recording down here. You can't really see the sideline very well. There he is. That looks okay. I think we're in really good shape. I think we're so close to going on that. We're almost set up. And I think I have questions ready to go. I think everything is.
Oh, I don't know who these people are.
They've already seen weirdness going on.
I don't know who that is. That's something that I'd have to research.
We'll see if there's no more weirdness associated with that. Let's bring up. Okay, this needs to be closer so I'm actually watch it.
That is a famous actor. Oh yeah, I just typed it in and looked at it too.
There is the top of the hour. We've got this here. We can bring up a live stream info.
Yeah, I think I've seen that guy in a lot of different movies or TV shows.
Hello everyone, welcome to the January 2025 Professor Messer SY0701 Security Plus Study Group. This is our first security
I don't know
of the new year. Happy New Year, everyone. We're almost at that point in January, here on the 22nd as we record this.
I don't know what is it, the eyes or I don't know what it is.
Leave that map pretty much at this point. But Happy New Year anyway. Thanks for joining us. We're so glad to have you here in this hour. I will go through questions and answers that come directly from the CompTIA exam objectives. Some work you can do to
Oh, please. Oh, man.
We would love for you, if you are here live, we'd love for you to join along with us. I want to give you some instructions on how you could do that. Simply pop open a new browser window and head over to the link that you see right here, professormesser.com/QA, and you also can follow along with us and answer questions. Now, for
Oh
those of
yeah,
you
that's
that
fine.
have been on
I
these live
I get
streams
it.
before,
Yeah, that's fine.
one question at the very beginning that's really from last week. So it gives you a chance to see if you know what the
You know,
answer
oftentimes
is
you
associated with this.
it doesn't matter like where we're from.
Or if you remember it,
We
the question there
you'll
is,
resemble
and that
someone
restores all the great
probably
gratitude
from
to the Joy Center in a
the
simple
structure of the way your body is or your
system.
facial features, but
So the following would best
you know,
describe this
it's like something that I always say: we're more alike than we are different, even though we human beings that come from everywhere around the world. We have similar structures and structural features.
In the live stream is please no
But
answers
this
in the
guy
chat
is
box, so
that guy is like
instead,
72.
we are going to
Because
see
I just typed it in Google. Is
visiting the link
he's like
here,
72 years old right now?
professormaster.com/QA.
Wow.
That is the link you want to go to. Once you go to that link, you can just stay on that link for the duration of the live stream. The questions will automatically change on your screen behind the scenes. So we'd like to see how well you remember this one from last week. While you're busy working on
Yeah, maybe I don't know.
I want to remind you that we do monthly study groups.
Possibly, I don't know.
And we have an entire archive of these.
You know, maybe it's something my parents didn't tell me. I don't know. Maybe you know. Maybe there's a part of the family that I don't know about. They probably have a different last name or something. Oh, this is amazing to see too.
You can always find those by visiting
Nah, you just never know. You know, you travel to a different part of the world, and you see people that have similarities to you in terms of physical features.
If we're not there, then you won't.
And for a lot of us, there's a lot of people that has the same last name too, and you're like, aren't we related or something? It's like no, but has very similar features and even last names.
We're going to be talking about the SYZ
Yeah, this is amazing.
01 exam. This is an exam that was released on November the 7th of 2023. So it's been out for just over a year now.
This guy comes in a lot of popular stuff too.
From your perspective, that's really good.
All right, take care. Much appreciation for stopping by. It's a nice, good, productive space. You can always leave some good comments. I'm always up for some good interaction. I appreciate you for stopping by. See you on the next one, or whenever you stop by once again.
That's one thing that we don't have to worry about, thankfully. Very glad when that all works.
Wow, this is amazing though.
We have a single exam to earn your A+ certificate, or excuse me, Network Security Plus certification. It is a maximum of 90 questions. Some people let me know that they didn't get 90 questions on their exam. That's because they could ask you for fewer than 90 questions on this exam. But the exam score always stays the same. On a scale from 100 to 900, you have to score 750. So keep that in mind. It's going to be important going through the details of.
Oh, he's also a British American actor as well. Okay.
Versions of the Security Plus exam, very similar in structure and style. Obviously, the questions and the topics are different than previous versions, but it's multiple choice and it's performance-based questions. We'll talk more about performance-based questions in just a moment. Now, not only do we have our absolutely free training course available online, you can go to YouTube at any time and watch any of the videos associated with that. We don't keep anything behind a paywall. There's no registration you have to do. There's nothing extra. You simply visit YouTube or visit ProfessorMesser.com for the entire index of absolutely free SY0701 training materials. But if you think you would like to have additional training materials, such as course notes, practice exams, and more, you can find those on our website. And simply go to ProfessorMesser.com/701SB. That is our 701 Success Bundle. And you can see that we've got downloadable versions of the videos. We have audio versions of those videos available in MP3 format, and there's much more there. Find out all about it at ProfessorMesser.com/701SB. We also have a replay of this immediately available on YouTube right after we're done. But of course, we do have an audio-only replay that I produce, and I put it in podcast format so that it can be downloaded automatically into your favorite podcast listening program. If you'd like to add it manually to that program, you can go to ProfessorMesser.com/podcast. I also have these available on some of the streaming media services. So if you're on Spotify, for example, just search for Professor Messer and you will find us right there. You can listen right on Spotify as streaming audio. It certainly helps a little bit as well. About a day after we're done, you'll notice that there is information in the YouTube video description that's brand new. It's timestamps of exactly what we are doing and when we did it. These don't happen automatically. We've tried automatic things. They're just awful. What you need is someone to listen in, watch what's going on, and put in all of those timestamps if you are hoping for any type of accuracy. Fortunately, we have the best in Lori, my marketing manager, who goes through this video. Hi, Lori. And she puts in all of these timestamps so that all of us can find this information later on. You can go back years and find those details. So don't forget that there's a lot of good stuff in that YouTube video description. You can always find the details of that on any of our live YouTube replays. Also, when we're not doing this live stream, you'll find us over on Discord. We'd love for you to join. Go to professormesser.com/Discord. Make sure you have a look at that. There's thousands of folks there that are studying for their A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, and other certifications. And that's usually where we will hang out and talk back and forth. We have just a general chat. There's just general questions you'd like to ask. And then we have specific study group channels that you can always visit to help with your studies. Eventually, you will need to take your Security Plus exam. And if you are in the U.S., Canada, or a U.S. territory, you can get a discounted voucher. Instead of paying full price over at the CompTIA site, get the same voucher at our site, but pay less, which is kind of nice. Save a little bit of money. Not only do you get your voucher for less money, but if you purchase on my site, I will give you a free copy of my Exam Hacks ebook. This is a book I wrote that gives you some tips and tricks for studying and some tips and tricks on what you can do during the exam to hopefully give you a few extra points. Sometimes a few extra points is exactly what you need. You can find that over on our website, specifically at professormesser.com/vouchers. That is the page you'd like to go to, or just follow the vouchers link from the main menu of the professormesser.com website. Let's talk about the question we asked earlier. This is a question from last month, remember. Our rewind question asks, a company stores all of the cryptographic keys for their data center in a centralized and hardened system. Which of the following would best describe this system? Would it be a TPM, a proxy, an IPS, an HSM, or a secure enclave? A secure enclave. Let's see what your answers were. 50% of you, better than last time, by the way, said an HSM is the right answer. We have 32% of you, let's do a pie chart so we can see this a little bit better. 33% of you say it's a secure enclave. We have 11% that say TPM, 3% say IPS, and 2% say proxy. So this is one of those questions where you really have to understand the devices that we use for security. And these devices for security really focus on different capabilities depending on what you're trying to do. But if you have a lot of cryptographic keys, maybe you have all of the keys for all of your web servers, and those SSL keys need to be in one place that are secure. One of the ways that you could do that is by using an HSM. There it is. And that's really what an HSM might look like. You can install HSM software yourself, or HSM comes as a purpose-built appliance. Some HSM devices have specialized cryptographic hardware inside of these devices, which is kind of nice. If you need something to do that encryption and decryption process, you can take it off of the load of your web servers and put it onto its own device. And it does that with some cryptographic accelerators, which is kind of nice. These days, we're getting pretty good with cryptography, but you never know when you want to increase the capabilities of your web server and offload that cryptographic function to a third-party product. HSM does that very, very well. So that's our rewind question. For those of you that have seen that one before, this is to make sure that we can go in and answer these questions and make sure that you can interact with the Q&A that we have. But HSM, you did a much better job this month, is the right answer. Secure Enclave is the security technology built into many of our mobile devices. You'll certainly see that there is functionality for a single device for a secure enclave, but that wasn't the question here. We were talking about storing every cryptographic key for everything in their data center in a single centralized and hardened system. That certainly doesn't speak to Secure Enclave, which is more of a personal security technology built into generally mobile devices. We've got TPM, also a cryptographic function you might find on a desktop computer or a laptop computer. We also have proxy and IPS as some of the options. Obviously, a proxy is a middleman to network communication, not exactly what we were talking about here. And an intrusion prevention system is usually looking for vulnerabilities or bad traffic coming through the network and stopping it right there. The answer here, and the one that most of you got right, indeed, is HSM. Well done with that one. Well, now let's do some new questions. And as many of you know on our study groups, our first brand new question is one that is a performance-based question. Performance-based questions are used to ask you about the same study materials that you've already gone through, those objectives, and we'll talk more about the objectives later on today, but those objectives could be asked of you in a lot of different ways. For example, I asked you about a number of those objectives right here in a multiple choice question. We're very familiar with multiple choice because there's a question and then multiple answers that you could have selected from. But you'll notice here that this functionality for the multiple choice, you could have just guessed and you had a 20% chance of getting it right. On your exam, you usually get 4 answers presented to you, which means you have 25% chance of getting it right. But the folks at CompTIA want to make things a little bit harder than that on you. We don't want to give you everything for free. So instead, we're going to give you a question with multiple answers presented in usually different ways. It could be a matching question, a fill in the blank. They could put you, well, for Security Plus, you won't be put in a command prompt because there are no command prompt commands you need to know for Security Plus, but other exams you could get that. It could be a drag and drop question. It could be one where you're pulling down menu items. There's a lot of different ways to present this information. And as I often tell people, it doesn't matter how they ask the question. If you know the material, you will be able to answer the question regardless of how it is presented to you. So I have for you a performance-based question this month that you haven't seen before. We always write a new one every month. And here is our performance-based question of the month. I want you to select the most likely attack types for these specific indicators. So I have 4 different indicators of attack, and I have for you on the screen 7 different attack types. So I want you to match these up. Now, obviously, I only have 4 indicators, which means you're only going to match 4 of the attack types. That means 3 will be left over at the end. I did the math. I counted them out, so I know that to be the case. Let's step through each one of these. For those of you listening in on the audio side, our 4 attack indicators are: a web server CPU is at a constant 100% utilization. Private database information can be viewed in a browser-based app. The third one is a user's phone contains apps not found on the official App Store. And the last one is user accounts are locked due to excessive authentication failures. So there are 7 different attacks that I want you to match with those 4. Those are directory traversal, downgrade, SQLI, DDoS, brute force, spraying, or side loading. If you think you know the answer, please answer using the link on your screen at professormesser.com/QA. Please no answers in the chat room. Please no hints in the chat room. You want to use that link on your screen to answer each of these. This is more of a question where you will be able to put in and understand what the different attack types are. But for the purposes of putting this in on our answer front end, it's really just a text. So if you think they're already in the right order, simply put in A1, B2, C3, D4. They are not in that order, by the way. Just so you're aware, that's not really the case. So let's see how you do with this one. Again, for those listening in, the indicators are: a web server CPU is at a constant 100% utilization. Private database information can be viewed in a browser-based app. A user's phone contains apps not found on the official App Store, and user accounts are locked due to excessive authentication failures. The attacks are directory traversal, downgrade, SQLI, DDoS, brute force, spraying, and side loading. Let's see how you do with this one. If you think you know the answers to these, Lock them in, folks. Go to professormesser.com/QA to lock in your answer. See how you do with this one. I think this one may be one that many of you get right. It was kind of hard to find an attack type that was unique in its indicator. I didn't want there to be an indicator and then have multiple attack types that it could be, which you certainly could do that. But this is not one of those scenarios. I want there to be a one-to-one, which means, as I mentioned, there'll be 3 left over at the end of this. So let's see how you do with these capabilities. Obviously, we're only looking at these 7, so I'm wanting you to find the most likely attack type. Now, obviously, these attack types could show other indicators as well. I just don't have enough room on the screen to put every possible indicator for every possible attack type. So I chose 4 here that are relatively straightforward. Hopefully, you'll be able to see that. See if you know the answer. For those of you wondering if there's a particular
Good morning. To put
these
good to see you, Leah.
I just need you to remember what these are because it is a.
How's everybody doing? Back and forth and checking on my wife's not doing too good, so I said I had to go and check. So
the answers for this one. So we'll never really know. I guess we will really know if I go back and look.
How's everything with the youngin?
Because it's a little more difficult to match these together online. There might be a matching function in the software that I'm just not taking advantage of yet. Another thing for me to look at. We are done with this. Let's see how you did with this question. Again, I wanted you to select the most likely attack types for these indicators. The indicators are a web server CPU is at a constant 100% utilization. Private database information can be viewed in a browser-based app. A user's phone contains apps not found on the official App Store, and user accounts are locked due to excessive authentication failures. Are these directory traversal, downgrade, SQLi, DDoS, brute force, spraying, or side loading? Let's step through each one of them and see what I think it is, and then you're going to tell me what you think it is. Well, you're not really going to tell me what you did, but we're going to see how you did with this one. The first one is a web server CPU is at a constant 100%
just keep me posted.
I would say in that particular case that other people trying to access that web server would.
How you guys doing? Good morning. Morning.
Available. Their ability to use that service was denied, and we refer to that obviously as a denial of service. In the case of a web server, it's very likely that it is a distributed form of a denial of service attack. You have a lot of people hitting one machine all at the same time, and so that is a very good example of where denial of service and distributed denial of service can cause a machine to become unavailable to others. And if it's at a constant 100% utilization, it probably is in that particular issue. Probably a problem with that. Next one on our list is a private database information can be viewed in a browser-based app. Now, normally, if we're on this configuration and people are accessing a database app the way they are supposed to, that works fine. But how are they able to gain access to private information that they would normally not have access to? That's certainly a concern. But how would you be able to do that in a browser-based application? One of the ways you can do that is by working around the code of the application itself, being able to find ways to not find exactly the direct access to the database. Instead, we get indirect access.
Ken, I will looking into making you a moderator. But just doing it randomly, that's something that I can't just do right off the bat because you'll be responsible for doing things in a productive and professional manner. So those who I give the moderator tool to, you have to be someone that I know that I can rely on or put good trust in for you to be able to do the right thing when
which is why whenever you hear about a SQL injection in the news,
it is time for you to do it. But it is something that I am looking into.
Application to prevent that type of injection from occurring. So that was what we would see in that particular case. Let's do the third one. The third one is a user's phone contains apps not found on the official App Store. I'm not talking about me. It wasn't my machine. Somebody else did this. And the way that someone was able to install an app without going to the official App Store is through sideloading. Sideloading is a process for doing exactly that. is getting around the official channels to install a separate piece of software. That is not what you should be doing. That is certainly a bad idea if you get into the world of installing from anywhere you would like. Now you are first probably circumventing existing security controls in being able to do that. But certainly, this is a very good example. Now you are opening up your machine to be infected because you have really no idea where that particular code came from. So that is a very good choice in that particular case. And the last one on here is user accounts are locked due to excessive authentication failures. And in this one, we're going to choose brute force. Brute force was the answer. That is when somebody tries your username and tries one password. Then they try a second password. Then they try a third password. Then we try, and eventually they're doing so many of these that when they get down to it, they cause the account to lock itself out because of too many authentication attempts. Now that means there were 3 attack types we did not use. And a number of people were saying, well, with directory traversal, we could have used directory traversal to gain access to private database information. Well, you could, but that would assume that the database and the web server are on the same machine. And very rarely do we run into that particular situation. In fact, that's probably an uncommon situation when you get into it. Now, if you're doing this in your lab, you might do that. But in this particular case, that is an unusual configuration that you commonly not find. And even then, getting access to the database may not be that easy as simply traversing a particular directory. And again, go back to the question which asked, the most likely attack type, and in this case, the most likely attack type is indeed going to be SQL injection. In fact, 100% of the time, SQL injection is going to work if it's something available. Directory traversal, not going to be 100% every time. So that's how we are going to choose SQL injection over directory traversal. There is also another one we didn't choose was a downgrade attack. If you're doing something like an SSL stripping, for example, downgrade attack is a good example of one. There was none of these that described you trying to access a device and having the security downgraded in the middle of that conversation. So not going to cause the problem or any of these issues or indicators that we happen to have here. And the last one, spraying, this is one that you probably could mix up with brute force. Obviously, both of those involve someone who is trying to identify your password by trying different examples of what it could be. But a spraying attack is only going to try a limited number of those. So it might try 1 or 2 or maybe 3, and then it will stop. Spraying intentionally is designed not to lock out someone's account, because as soon as someone's account gets locked out and they weren't the ones to lock it, immediately we're trying to figure out who is trying to access your account. This is something that happens to me all the time. I get emails from Yahoo about the Yahoo email address that I have. I get messages from my web servers about people trying to SSH into my server. Little do they know, you can't directly SSH into my server. They can try every possible password in the world and you're never getting in by design. But they don't know that, so they keep trying and I keep getting the messages. So that's a really good example of how you could have switched a couple of these up, but in the end, when we're trying to find the most likely indicator, we know that web server CPU at a constant 100% utilization, distributed denial of service, undoubtedly. Private database information viewed in a browser-based app, SQL injection is really the most likely way to receive that information or gain access to that information. A user's phone containing apps not found in the official app store, that's definitely side loading, no question there. And user accounts locked due to excessive authentication failures. Indeed, that is brute force, not spraying. It would be brute force. Those are the 4 that we were looking for. Hopefully you're familiar with those. There are obviously many, many other attack types you need to know about. And for all of them, you do need to understand what those indicators might be. That is almost a word-for-word description of what you're expected to know from the official exam objectives. Make sure you have a look at those and are familiar with them. That was our performance-based question of the month. Hopefully you did pretty well on that one. I think most people did. Let's now shift gears back to a multiple choice question and see how you do with this brand new question that asks, A company is writing new security policies to include concerns over GDPR. Which of the following would be the most likely focus of these policies? Would it be customer privacy options, strong encryption protocols, authentication factor usage, SSO requirements for new applications, and an SPF disposition list? It's 5 different things, all of them from your exam objectives. Only one of them is going to be the right answer. If you think you know the answer, please no answers in the chat room. Instead, you want to go to professormessert.com/QA and lock in your answer. Again, please no answers in the chat room. We'll have to figure out what these are, and no hints in the chat room. That's another one that can help you. Obviously, knowing these abbreviations is going to be a good one, something we have to think about. This is very common use of these abbreviations. Notice that you will very rarely get a question on this exam where they ask you what the words in the abbreviation mean. They almost never ask that. I wouldn't say almost never, they never ask that. You'll never get a question that says, what do the initials SPF mean? You'll never get that. But they do use the abbreviations in these questions and the answers, naturally thinking you're going to know how these are used. So that is a very good example of why it's important to know these particular acronyms, but not just know the words. In fact, sometimes the words don't even matter. What really matters is, what does that mean? What does it stand for? What does this have to do with technology, and how would you implement it? So always a little bit extra to be able to do this. Hopefully you're familiar with some of these abbreviations. They might come into play for this particular question and the answers that we have on here. Let's see how you do with this one. This question asks, a company is writing new security policies to include concerns over GDPR. Which of the following would be the most likely focus of these policies? Would it be customer privacy options, strong encryption protocols, authentication factor usage, SSO requirements for new applications, and SPF disposition list? Let's close our poll and see how we did. You can see that 72% of you say the answer is customer privacy options is what we were going to use. We have 15% of you that say the answer is strong encryption protocols. 6% of you say authentication factor usage. 5% say SSO requirements for new applications. And then 2% of you say SPF disposition list. So we have a few here to choose from. Obviously, 72% of you answering customer privacy options is a pretty strong set of answers. And that's probably because most of you are familiar with the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. That is primarily, almost exclusively, a European Union regulation, although the similarities to this in other regulations are starting to branch out away from this. It's something that is definitely focused currently in the European Union and its general area, and it provides data protection for citizens in the EU. Now, this means that anything that is specific to you, some PII, personal type of private information, something that would directly correlate back to you as an individual, that's the type of information that we're trying to protect. The GDPR gives you a little bit more control as a user as to where your data exists and what you can do, or what other companies can do with that data. So as a subject of the data, you get to control that data. Now, this used to be called a right to be forgotten. Did not turn out to be quite as strong as that from a regulation perspective, but you in the EU can do things like ask for particular accounts to be deleted, specific information to be removed from a website, that type of thing. Nobody can really be forgotten on the internet, but this gives you at least more control over your data, and something that people are able to take advantage of in those particular countries within the EU. So GDPR was what we were looking for, and since GDPR deals with that personal information, something that maybe you'd like to protect a little bit better, then customer privacy options is certainly the right answer. 72% of you got that one absolutely right. Now, GDPR itself does not have any specific or detailed mandates regarding what type of protocols you would use to encrypt information, much less which ones would be stronger or weaker than another. Obviously, that's something you have to obviously be concerned about in the world of security, but it's not a specific primary focus of GDPR. We have authentication factor usage. 6% of you chose that one. Authentication factors would be things like something you know, somewhere you are, something you have. Those types of factors can be very useful during the authentication process to really check to see if you are who you say you are, but that's not part of GDPR. That's just something you would use during just a well-designed authentication function. SSO requirements for new applications, your single sign-on functionality of an application is not at all related to GDPR. It's kind of nice to have, of course. Having a single sign-on just makes it a lot easier to be able to use the resources on your particular network. It has nothing to do with the privacy of your personal information and how it works. And if you're working at all with email, you've probably done a lot with SPF. SPF is certainly an important consideration when you get into the world of dealing with email and having to determine, is that email spam